save the Dells because I love Prescott, and I love the Granite Dells, like a lot of people in this room tonight. There we go. I'll admit it, I love nature. I'm not afraid to say that. The wild, beautiful pureness of this land that sustains us every day with clean air and water and a sense of freedom. It's out here that we find and connect with our American history as Westerners, as an American. To me, protecting this is true patriotism. And I love biking in the Dells. To me, it's the best place on earth to ride. Hopefully I live to be an old man, but I'm not sure. And I take chances out there. I'm not afraid, all right? Maybe it's not smart, but I do it anyway. I do this because I love wildlife. That's a bunny. Some of you probably think I'm up here to tell you, hey, let's save the bunnies. That's all well and good, but that's not why I'm here. This is about honesty and transparency, about community values, about getting a good deal for the taxpayer, and about leaving something really special for our children and grandchildren. The goal of Save the Dells is to permanently protect the rest of the undeveloped Granite Dells, the best of the Granite Dells. You might think I'm crazy, and you might be right about that. This includes about 500 acres in the Granite Dells owned by Arizona Eco Development, shown here in a simplified red outline. This is AED's land seen from the Peavine Trail. Beautiful sunset. And this too, this is AED's land, a bit north, almost getting up towards Highway 89, 89A. Imagine hundreds of houses on both sides of this right here. It's kind of shocking. Both sides of the Peavine Trail. Arizona Eco wants to put their proposed 3,300 home development, they want it to be annexed into the city of Prescott. It's a new word for a lot of people probably. Included in that 3,300 home, 3,000 acre development is this, which is what they call homestead. It's about 860 acres, Granite Dells Homestead. AED is currently under county jurisdiction, county zoning. Annexation means they want to join the city of Prescott. This includes gaining access to 100 million gallons per year of water, presumably new taxpayer-funded roads, a hookup to Prescott's shiny new sewer system, and access to city emergency services. All logical, normal things that come with an annexation. AED's, let's see here. This thing's got a little delay in it. There we go. AED's land is shown here in red, pinkish red. You can see the Peavine and the Iron King trails running right through it. The blue shape is the extent of the Granite Dells. What are the Dells? The Dells aren't just rocks. We hear a lot of people say, you just want to save a bunch of rocks. Well, it's not just rocks. Open a dictionary. What is a dell? A dell, by definition, is a lovely, graceful, wooded valley meandering between hills and rocks. The Granite Dells aren't just rocks. They're the valleys, too. AED's 500-acre portion, in my opinion, and in the opinion of Save the Dells, is the most amazing part of the Granite Dells. Annexation into the city of Prescott is a privilege. It is not a given right of property ownership. In fact, a lot of landowners feel that annexation is forced on them by cities. A lot of people who believe in private property rights dislike annexation. AED wants to be annexed into the city of Prescott because of the tremendous financial and logistical benefits that would be granted through the process. If AED's annexation is accepted by our elected officials, The annexation should result in a tangible, positive outcome for the public. We believe that it is fair for the public, and it is the right thing for our whole city, that the 500 acres of AED's 15,000-acre land holdings be permanently dedicated as a public park as part of the annexation agreement. That's more or less the area under the green line. A lot of you have heard of our regional park proposal. That's the proposed line. More or less, that's the point that's where we want to start with negotiation. This is the land that we care most deeply about. If AED's proposed annexation is approved, the value of their land will increase substantially overnight. We are not opposed to the developer annexing. Let me be clear about that. We're not trying to stop the annexation. Nor we are opposed to somebody trying to pursue a profitable business. I'm a business owner myself. I come from a tradition of business owners. We are in favor of an annexation that protects the Granite Dells, all 500 acres. With the stroke of a pen, AED's property would be increased in value, according to our calculations, by approximately $100 million instantly if annexed into the city of Prescott, even after dedicating 500 acres to a Granite Dells Regional Park. Just by annexing the 3,000 acres under consideration, before they even build one house, AED could more than double their return on investment on their entire 15,000 acres of land. Recouping their costs should not be an issue. Save the Dells, therefore, believes that it is fair and reasonable that AED dedicate those 500 acres in the Dells as a public park for the use and enjoyment by all of Prescott's residents and visitors. The current Prescott Building Code already requires that 25% of a planned area development is dedicated as open space. The mayor recently told me on a phone call that he would like to see 50% of this project as dedicated open space. So, if AED is proposing a 3,000-acre annexation, they are already required to dedicate as a minimum 750 acres to open space, or 1,500 acres if the mayor's request that he suggested to me is accepted. Save the Dells is asking that 500 of the minimum of 750 is protected where the public wants it, not where the developer identifies it. By doing so, we will help the annexation serve both the developer and the public by making this a smooth deal that everybody approves of and everybody gets a thumbs up at the end of the day. This is the right thing for Prescott. AED's map shown here suggests quite a bit of open space already, clustered around Upper Granite Creek in a green shade. That's up here. There's no legend for the map, but I am assuming the map indicates that that is proposed open space because it isn't overlaid with anything else. So we're seeing some open space up here along Granite Creek Wash. Let me be clear for you. I don't think that's a fair deal. Offering up completely unbuildable floodplains that are designated by FEMA as a FEMA floodplain is not an open space allocation that satisfies the public's concern for the Granite Dells. This map also shows what's called an airport expansion in purple. According to documents that we reviewed from the city, AED intends on giving the city around 652 acres to expand the airport. The developer told City Council on September 12th of last year that he proposes trading these 652 acres near the airport for the city's water rights that he needs to complete his the full package of the development. This would be their offer in exchange for the full package of benefits. Trading the benefits of annexation for this land at the airport, much of it is also a floodplain, that too is a bad deal for Prescott, and I'll tell you why. The federal government will pay 90% of the cost to expand municipal airports like this. The federal government typically does that. Why would we accept land as a trade for ruining the Dells when the FAA will pay 90% of the cost anyway? It doesn't seem like that's a smart business move. Questions are good, and now is the time for all of us to start asking these questions. Here's a question. A lot of people ask me, where were we 5 or 10 years ago? They say, why has Save the Dells just now started making a big deal about development? Or they say, why didn't you or the city just buy this land years ago? Well, I'll tell you right now. We have been working on saving the Granite Dells for more than 20 years. Is just the latest organization that is formed to represent a huge part of this community that in many ways has been silenced and marginalized over those years. We've had our high points, but a lot of times we're not really the ones who are pulling the levers of power. But we're not going to be silenced this time, because this is our last chance to save the best part of the Granite Dells. And when I say we, I mean people in Prescott, Prescott Valley, Chino Valley, and even beyond that. This is an issue of huge regional importance. Take note of this, and if you can't see this in the back, I apologize. The highest peaks that you see from the overlook off of 89 that overlooks Watson Lake, all of those highest peaks are part of the proposed development. That's no joke. We love the Dells just the way they are right now. In 1991, before most of today's open space advocates came along, a group of landowners convened and formed the Granite Dells Advisory Committee. Does that scene look familiar? That 1991 community plan laid out a vision for the future, and that future is now. We are there. The topics covered in the environmental section of the plan are what you might expect. Preserve rock formations, protect the flora and fauna, protect air and water, natural resources, minimize pollution, retain rural attributes. No surprises, that's typical environmental stuff. You hear that all the time. But it's the economic section of the plan that really says something to us. Where it states, future development should be of the size and scale to keep with the rural character of the Granite Dells, and must be sensitive to the fragile environment there. If only they had seen today's crisis coming. Today, we're debating a development at the scale of thousands of homes. They never saw that coming in 1991. But a lot has happened since 1991. It's a different town, a lot of growth. Now, a lot of ways that growth has been good for Prescott. We've got this beautiful amphitheater right here. If you've ever eaten at the Barley Hound or Biga, or if you bought a nice mountain bike at one of our bike shops, you've appreciated the better aspects of growth. And that growth has attracted some notable people. We have Olympic athletes moving to Prescott because of these trails, because of access to open space in the outdoors. But the growth does come with costs. To offset those costs, the open space community has worked for a long time to protect these areas that define where we come from as Americans, who we are as a community today, and what type of future hometown we want to leave to our children. We can leave our grandchildren and those in the future with opportunities to experience parts of the West that have made us who we are as Americans. That's not a house cat. We've been the underdogs in this effort for a long time. Oops. We're not the ones with all the money. We're just passionate citizens. I believe, though, we are the defenders of this democracy. I'm not kidding. We, the people, have the power. Some of the most effective and committed advocates for open space in Prescott now serve in the Save the Dells Committee with me on a regular basis. Some others advise us on a regular basis. In my opinion, the 25 smartest and hardest working people in Prescott, the most community-minded people in Prescott, are working with me on this campaign. Thank you very much, my friends. We're all here in Prescott. We're losing that too. That's part of this. Gone. Growth does come with costs. My grandchildren, that's going to be a ways out. I don't have children yet. They will probably never see a pronghorn in Prescott Valley or southern Chino Valley. Arizona Game and Fish estimates there's 20 years left, and then they're gone. But despite these losses, we're not giving up. In 2006, one of the initiators of Prescott's 1% sales tax measure filed a lawsuit against the city for not honoring voter intent. The plaintiff argued that after the first 6 years of the sales tax revenue, the city had only spent $3.6 million on open space, while using more than $40 million on road improvements. At that pace, the city was projected to spend about $13 million on open space by the time the tax expired, which is less than a third of what was projected. Then attorney of the city, Gary Kidd, in court, he said, the council has clear and absolute ability to legislatively and budgetarily decide what to buy. That makes sense. The council is the final word. What stops there? The judge who tried the case had to rule in the city's favor because the specific percentage to be spent on open space had not made it into the official ballot language, despite having been included on the information shared with the voters in the lead-up to the vote. The judge examined the campaign information. He sympathized with the voters who he felt had been misled. And I'll tell you, it was a Maricopa County judge that came up here. None of the judges in Yavapai would take this case. It was too controversial. The judge admonished the city for misleading the voters. But he said the city is correct. The court cannot force it to honor representations made to the voters. There were millions of dollars potentially available in 2006 at the time of the lawsuit, when a Scottsdale developer, David Cavan, bought more than 16,000 acres from the ranch family that owned the Granite Dells and Point of Rocks ranches. That same family helped draft and they endorsed the 1991 community plan. That same family helped draft and they endorsed the Glassford Hill Preserve plan. After almost a century of ownership, and here it is, isn't that an incredible photo? A spokesperson for the ranch said, while it is with some emotion that we sell the ranches after all of these years, the members of our family corporations agreed that it is time to pass on the reins of stewardship. Pass on the reins of stewardship. I've been a land manager for over 20 years. I know what stewardship is. What does that mean, stewardship? We could have saved this land then, if the city had spent the money that had been raised by the sales tax, by the taxpayers, on open space protection in the Dells. But it didn't happen. So, you've now learned that the citizens passed an initiative in 2000 to buy open space with tax money. Public forums in 2002 identified priority areas. Granite Dells. Any guesses which one? Number 1. In 2003, Mayor Rollie Simmons assembled an Open Space Acquisition Advisory Committee to advise the City Council on open space acquisitions. And in 2008, the Mayor's Open Space Committee offered up a comprehensive plan. It identified this: the Dells, Glassford Hill, and Klein Mesa as top priorities. There's 6 or 7 other top priorities, but these were among the top 10. A lot of people don't know this, but this mesa right here, Klein Mesa, it's the one that a power line comes off of, and state trust land predominantly. These are all part of our proposed Granite Dells Regional Park. Protecting these areas is nothing new. The idea has been around for a long time. The 2008 Open Space Master Plan, put together by hardworking members of this community, offered 12 key suggestions, recommendations. Adopt the master plan entirely in its whole, unadulterated. Replace the advisory committee with a permanent open space commission. Establish a task force to harness outside funding sources to work on grants and federal monies. Add an open space member to the city's development review team. That seems like a pretty logical thing. A lot of this was based off of Durango's open space plan. Bunch more recommendations. What happened? Well, the city did adopt the plan. Rah-rah. But when Mayor Jack Wilson was defeated, he disbanded the committee, and the next mayor, Marlon Kuykendall, never set up a permanent commission. And so this is just kind of languished on the shelves. Fortunately, the city has pursued some great open space acquisitions. I'm not painting a totally negative picture here. The city has still bought a fair bit of land in the intervening time, but not at the scale that was envisioned and not at the amount of money that would have been raised based off everybody's projections. But 20 years later, we're still hard at work. After several tumultuous years in a rejected annexation proposal, as I understand, I wasn't there, Scottsdale developer David Cavan filed for bankruptcy. If you're in the audience tonight, I'm sorry, Mr. Cavan, for embarrassing you. I doubt that he's here. So that was in 2011 that he filed for bankruptcy. This is where Arizona Echo development emerges. Oops. Millions of dollars of open space funding were supposed to be available to take advantage of opportunities when AED was able to buy up this land in the Dells at bargain basement prices. That was supposed to be the plan. Money was supposed to be there to take advantage of opportunities. Prescott could have bought this land then in the Granite Dells, both sides of the Peavine and the Iron King trails, land that was clearly, obviously, highly valued as open space, but they didn't. AED did. Can we have sustainable land development in a place as irreplaceable as the Granite Dells? So what does it mean to be a good steward of land? Where was that open space money being spent if it wasn't being spent on open space? That's a question I have. For one, there is the highly controversial city-funded construction of Granite Dells Parkway at a cost of more than $17 million to the taxpayer. According to a November 2009 Daily Courier article, city officials explained that the city proposes borrowing the money for the interchange and paying back the debt with the 1% sales tax until it expires in 2015. In 2015, by the time the sales tax expired, it had generated almost $192 million. Based on the voter-approved 25% allocation, there should have been around $48 million available for open space. Yet, previous councils, despite the very clear wishes of the voter, ultimately spent only $18.7 million. The city's own budget estimated that an average of $3.5 million for open space acquisitions would be available between 2007 and 2016. I guess the plaintiff of the 2006 lawsuit wasn't that far off base. Where did the other $30 million go? Did it go to pay for the Granite Dells Parkway? I don't know. I wasn't there. To be clear, this $17 million taxpayer-funded road project serves two developments, one of which is Arizona Echo Development, shown here in red. There's the parkway, here's Arizona Echo. The red up here is Arizona Echo's commercial land. According to an April 2013 article in Phoenix Business Journal, AED, which is a spinoff of Delaware, bought their 15,000 plus acres in 2013 out of a closed-door bankruptcy proceeding for about $2,000 an acre. So they paid around $30 million. That's $100 million less than what Cavan Real Estate paid for it. Had the previous city council followed through on the wishes of the voters, it's possible the entire area that I'm busting my butt to try to save right now, we could have bought for $1 million then. But instead, what we have now is what for a lot of years, people call the road to nowhere. I'd like to think that today's city council and our mayor could take a position to make right this lost opportunity. here. I wanted to welcome a few special people in the room tonight. We do have in the front row, Hariaksha is running for Congress in the Green Party. David Brill is running for Congress for Representative Noel Campbell somewhere. Is he? Okay, here we go. This is obviously important to people. I had a nice talk with Representative Campbell, and he assured me that, hey, this is on his radar. This is something that we can all work on together, all right? So I just wanted to throw that in there. Thanks for being here, guys. And and you can rest assured that it will be used efficiently, and it's going to go to support the cause.
And I just might add to that all of the committee members, all 26 of us, help to decide how that money is spent, and sometimes a financial contributor will make a specific request about their contribution and how it's spent. So, next question. Where does the water come from? How much will we need? How much will AED need? And how will it be sustained?
Oh, well, I guess that's me to answer that one. Where does the water come from? Basically from the Xerox machine. Almost all the water for the development in Prescott right now is paper water. There is enough paper water out there to support all of these proposed developments. You understand that in this last year, if some large developments have been approved, if we look at then adding in the Jasper development and both of Arizona Echo's proposed developments, we're looking at about over 16,000 homes being approved in this area. Yet the overdraft in the Prescott Active Management area is around 18,000 acre feet a year. There still is paper water available to support all these developments, even in the face of a very large overdraft in this active management area. So this is not City of Prescott's fault. Prescott is playing by the rules. They follow the rules very carefully. This is just Arizona water law at work. The purpose of Arizona water law is to provide water for development. Despite what they say, which is to achieve safe yield, it doesn't do that. There's all these little exceptions and water pockets that can be drawn in for development. So there's water available, and I'm talking about legally available water. None of this is sustainable water. All of the water that's used for these developments will increase the overdraft. So, specifically with Arizona Echo water, Proposition 400 applies to the two Arizona Echo developments because those annexation requests are over 250 acres. Proposition 400 has a number of features. The 60-day comment period is one, but critically, it requires that all of the wastewater that is generated by these annexations has to be dedicated to permanent recharge of the aquifer. Now, if this annexation didn't go forward, or if this annexation was done by Prescott Valley, Proposition 400 wouldn't apply. And that water then, let me give you some numbers. The total water demand for Homestead and the North annexation, I'm estimating to be 825 acre feet. Now that's a lot of assumptions are involved in these numbers. You know, we don't have a final proposal yet. We don't know exactly what we're working with. But as best as I can tell at this point, 825 acre feet is what they need. About a third of that is put on landscapes in the city. And so there's like 250 acre feet in that just evaporates and is not recovered in the wastewater treatment system. But about 575 or so acre feet would be recovered into the wastewater treatment system and put back into the aquifer. And it could not be, under Prop 400, it could not be used to support new development. If this annexation were in Prescott Valley, that 575 is used to support additional new development. That's kind of the source of the paper water that I'm talking about. So, point number one, there is adequate water out there, paper water, to support all these developments. Therefore, and that's done by state law, not by city policy. So at this point, arguing about water is not a good tactic for us. This is a land use decision that Joe has outlined masterfully. And so let's don't go barking up the wrong tree. So there's illegal water available that's not sustainable, and I can give more details about Arizona Echo's water supply here. Basically, they have 375 acre-feet of water from Granite Creek, surface water from Granite Creek. The idea is that they would sever and transfer that from the ranch land, transfer it to Prescott. Prescott would recover that water and recharge it, and then serve domestic water to these developments. So that would get them as much as 350 acre-feet of water for the developments, because Department of Water Resources takes a 5% charge on those recharge units. Arizona Echo owns 144 acre-feet of extinguishment credits. These are credits that are accrued when farmland, mainly in Chino Valley, is permanently fallowed and retired from farming. And so those extinguishment credits are available for Arizona Echo to purchase. The going price on this now, on Arizona Echo's website, is saying about $18,000 an acre foot, which would support 4 houses. So it's about $4,500 a house. This is reasonable and doable. There's about 1,500 acre-feet of extinguishment credits available. This is some of the paper water I'm talking about. So there's plenty of extinguishment credits out there that can be purchased to support these developments. The city of Prescott has penciled in 300 acre-feet of water to give to Arizona Echo to support these developments. I want to point out that at $18,000 an acre foot, the value of that 300 acre-feet is $5.4 million. So that ought to be some good negotiating capital right there.
I just wanted to say, in transparency, we knew we would get a lot of questions on water. That's what we get a lot of emails on. And so I invited Gary to be up here because nobody in Prescott can speak with authority on water like Gary can. He is the most well-educated person that I
think. Thank you, Gary. The next question. The mayor mentioned the Arizona Echo Development's land is private property. Should they be able to do what they want? How is Save the Dells trying to restrict private property rights?
That's a really good, excellent question. We hear that question a lot too. And I think that this is a crux issue for a lot of people, especially around here. There's a really strong ethic of private property rights around here. That is where I come from. That was my upbringing. Like I said in one of my sections, AED is currently zoned in the county. They're allowed to build whatever they want in the county right now. If they're coming to Prescott to ask for annexation, that is above and beyond what we would typically consider the right of private property ownership. And so because they're asking for annexation into a municipality, and by extension asking for services from the taxpayer, that is where we believe that there is room for negotiation. In addition, AED has been very clear on their website that they are a sustainable land development corporation. If you haven't been to their website, you should read it. It's really quite well done. The language is masterfully crafted. And so I think that the community has an obligation to hold the corporation to the highest, loftiest rhetoric that it has put on their website, which is wonderful.
Next question. How does ECOSA's Forever Dells campaign relate to Save the Dells?
Is this me again? All right. They're not really related, except for the fact that we're trying to save the Granite Dells. They're looking specifically at their acreage. ECOSA owns about 65 acres. They want to do a conservation easement, which means that they can protect the land but retain the ownership, and that the Central Arizona Land Trust will hold the development rights and ensure that subsequent landowners are compliant with the terms of the easement. And so we're not related, except that we have sort of mutual goals. There is no crossover on funding. There is no logistical or administrative crossover, but I think that we both support each other's endeavor.
Next question. AED and the development industry were major contributors to the last mayoral and council race. How can Save the Dells expect to have a seat at the table, at the decision table? Is this just a protest exercise?
Okay. In our democracy, we have a right to donate to whatever campaign we damn well choose. And that's part of this country. And if people wanted to donate to the mayor, because they're a developer and they expect some tit for tat, if that's their prerogative, that's how it goes in this country. Until we change the rules, until we repeal Citizens United, we might not. That's the game we play. That's the game we play. And it's true that that there were substantial, in fact, the most contributions ever in a Prescott mayoral race occurred in the last mayoral election. And a lot of that money was from developers. And like I said, we've been the underdogs for a while in this. There's no denying that, but we're not going to give up on it. You know, like I think that we have tried extremely hard. The guys up here, Amber, folks in the committee, we've tried really hard to tell the truth about this, but not be jerks about it. And I have faith that cooler heads will prevail, and that we'll get the win despite the fact that there was some dark money at play.
Next question might be for Walt. What's wrong with letting AED put carefully sited custom homes scattered throughout the Rocky Dells?
Can you hear me? There are a lot of ways, but what we're hoping to do is to retain the integrity of the ecosystem out there. If you fragment the ecosystem, then the herds of deer that we have, the mountain lions, the bobcats, the peregrine falcons, the golden eagles, are not going to survive. The whole ecosystem may collapse, and we'll get basically an urban park, different from a regional park like we're talking about here. And you know, our city parks are welcome habitat for rats and feral cats and domestic pigeons and things like that, but that's not what we want to see. We have a really amazing functioning ecosystem out there. So by fragmenting with houses all over the place, we would lose that. And then we would lose the values that of the scenery and of our solitude and of our recreation potential at the same time.
Should the city of Prescott exchange access to water for land to expand the airport runway?
I feel like in my talk I pretty clearly said no. I don't think that's a good deal, and I'll say it again. That there are existing financing mechanisms in this country where municipal airports are supported by Federal Aviation Administration grants. This happens every day. that should be what we do here. We shouldn't cast aside the Granite Dells in exchange for some land up around the airport.
Is it true that the city's open space requirements of a developer can include parking lots and recreation centers, golf courses, and more infrastructure?
There was never any intention for that to be anything other than functional open space. I'm not on. Can you hear? Okay, here we go. On the Granite Dells. On here? On the Granite Dells Estates, the Open Space Advisory Committee for the city advised the developer there to put the functional open space next to the Peavine Trail, where it would be functional for people and for wildlife. And they overrode our recommendation because we had not been converted to a commission at that time, and put the houses right up to the edge of the trail and created an open space in a really non-functional area. They were even counting the centers of roundabouts as open space. That's really ridiculous, but that's not the intention of the open space. We want to see 25% or more functional open space, and not just little things, especially recreational activities like ball fields and parks like that are very different from open space as it's intended to be. Thank you.
I don't know if I need this. You know, I was going to go back to one question, and I'm not actually sure what I want to say, but the question about the the last election, and I didn't like actually the way that came across. I think that is our democracy, and people can donate to whatever cause and whoever they want in an election. And that doesn't mean that those people receiving those campaign donations are going to be significantly swayed. I think we have to trust in the integrity of a lot of people. And I think that what we should focus on is not so much that, but on the positive of the things that we're doing here tonight, and to exercise our democratic right, and to talk to our elected officials and convince them that our cause, that our purpose is the right purpose. And I don't think we should let it go to that level. I think we should be above that.
Thank you for adding that, Tom. That was really important. Another question we have is, what can county, not city residents, do to save the Dells? So if you live in the county and not within the Prescott City, what power do we have?
Well, I'll tell you. The three of us right here, we live in the county. And I think that this is a testament to what folks who don't live within the city boundaries, but every day do our commerce and go to work and go to school and meet our friends and buy food at restaurants. We're the taxpayers too. We just don't get any services out of it. I don't get much from the county, but that's fine. But if you live in the county, you're part of this. Like I said, this is a regional issue. This, Prescott right now, you just wait. In 50 years, this is going to be a huge city. Couple 100,000 people. We have to start thinking about that now. When all of Chino Valley is full of houses, what's going to be in the middle of it? That's the Granite Dells Regional Park.
And I would just like to add to that yes, I live in the county as well, and every single thing that I buy goes to Prescott City taxes. And so what I've done is I've written the mayor, I've written city council, and I've written the Daily Courier. And I'm here. So that's also some other things that folks can do.
Yeah, I'll say that just because you live in the county shouldn't discourage you from getting involved. Like, join Save the Dells, sign up on our website, be part of the action. This is an issue that the entire region will benefit from if we're successful with this.
Next question. Has a feasibility study been undertaken in relation to the impact on the environment? For example, water resources, air pollution, soil degradation, overall ecological effect, archaeology, light pollution.
No. Those aren't typically done with any sort of robust integrity. There is no National Environmental Policy Act analysis that would have to cover this development so far. Developments like this often don't go under very much of a critical review, but we are doing our darndest to make sure that this right now enables that critical review to happen. The impact of this, if this were to be analyzed in an authentic way, would clearly be catastrophic for ecosystems, devastating for recreation, and a real black eye for Prescott's character and Prescott's reputation, I think.
The development agreement is a contract drawn up between the developer and the city. How can we participate in the process so that it is fair to both parties involved? And I think they mean Save the Dells. How can Save the Dells?
How can Save the Dells
participate?
If every single person in this auditorium decided to go meet with Mayor Mangarelli or the Planning and Zoning Commission, there'd be a really long line out the door, and it might not be so effective. I hope that many people do participate, but Save the Dells is asking you, the public, for your trust and we want you to invest your faith in us, that we can be the voice of this community and we can represent everyone across various spectrums of demographic and social and economic status. And ultimately, like the mayor suggested, they're going to let me know that something's going on and it's time to negotiate, and we'll be there. You know, me and these guys right here, we've met with every city councilor and the mayor, and we're at these meetings and we're having discussions, but doesn't mean that you can just go home and say, like, I don't have to do anything. Like, when you sign up on our website, when you get an email that says, public forum is Tuesday night at City Hall, be there, because it means a lot. When you're an elected representative and you see a crowd of people staring at you, and hopefully with smiles, because we're happy people, that goes a long way. And so we're asking for you to still participate.
Okay, I think just 2 more questions. So the next question is, how much would it cost to buy the Rocky Dells we want to save? What is the land worth?
We go over that a lot. It's priceless. That's, like Walt said in his presentation, this is priceless. It's beyond putting a value on, however. This is a culture that puts value on land. That's what we do. It's really hard to find comps on this land. It's not too often that there's a 500-acre parcel for sale in Grand Dells. So we don't have a clear answer on that. We don't.
All right. I guess this is the last question. How far is Save the Dells willing to go? When would you give up?
I think they answered it.
Never.
Yeah.
I want to say another thing. I feel like a little bit on the fringe here, but I feel like if you feel passionately about this issue, if you feel strongly about it, that you should talk to your representatives. That's what democracy is about. And if you're worried about elections and campaigns and financing, your voice makes a difference. And we've talked to council people, and many of them were here. It does make a difference. So whether you email them or whether you go in person, I think at some point in this process, and I may say that as a private citizen, not even a member of Save the Dells, that's what I might be compelled to do. So from my standpoint, I still think that personal contact, that one-on-one or a good email, and do it respectfully. Where you can get their ear and they learn, they listen to your reasoning and your concerns. I still think that's important.
Yeah, thanks for adding that, Tom. And to answer the question, how far are we willing to go? I think it's clear that we've invested a tremendous amount of thought and contemplation and our own time and your energy and your donations into this. We're in this for the long haul. I refuse to stand down and watch the Dells be destroyed.